The United States will achieve nothing with its new round of economic sanctions, Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian said on Wednesday.
Massive flooding in Nepal has killed at least 98 people as mudslides swept through mountain valleys near the Chinese border. Hundreds of people are still missing.
14 newborns were killed in a fire at a major hospital in Pakistan's capital, Islamabad, on Wednesday. In Belgium, the world's top exporter of frozen fries, potatoes harvested this year are too small to make fries due to weather extremes.
Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney will address the European Parliament on September 17th as Canada and the EU seek closer ties amid escalating tensions with the United States. Carney will also attend the European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen's State of the Union speech on September the 16th. The visit follows the collapse of US-Canada trade talks and Washington's decision to impose tariffs of up to 50% on $20 billion of Canadian goods. Canada has vowed to respond with matching counter-tariffs as Carney seeks closer partnership with the EU and so-called middle powers.
The United States will achieve nothing with its new round of economic sanctions, Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian said on Wednesday. On Monday, U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent laid out plans for the economic warfare against Iran. Iranian leaders have dismissed the impact of such measures. Talks between Iran and the US have stalled as the two sides fight over the control of the Strait of Hormuz. Meanwhile, Tehran said on Tuesday it would not allow military vessels to transit through Hormuz under an agreement the Islamic Republic is currently negotiating with Oman.
هیچ شناور نظامی فقط در واقع این ناظر بر عبور شناورهای تجاری خواهد بود و این نکته بسیار مهمی هست.
He added Iran and Oman reached an understanding on a temporary commercial route. Traffic into the Persian Gulf from the Gulf of Oman would pass entirely through Iranian waters, while the outbound route would pass partly through Iranian waters and partly through Oman's territorial waters.
Massive flooding in Nepal has killed at least 98 people as mudslides and torrents of water swept through mountain valleys near the Chinese border. While rescue operations continue, hundreds of people are still missing, including over 340 foreign nationals. Witnesses reported trucks, houses and people being swept away by the floodwaters. The disaster also damaged around 430 megawatts of electricity production capacity, including hydropower and solar facilities, according to Nepal's electricity authority. Beyond the flooding, Nepal deployed helicopters and disaster response teams to the affected areas, while several highways were closed. A preliminary assessment suggested a rock ice avalanche in Nepal blocked the Land River and triggered the cascading floods. Meanwhile, Chinese state media reported major casualties and missing people at the Georong port in Tibet, but gave no figures for deaths or injuries. Authorities warned that roads in the area were at risk of further mudslides.
14 newborns were killed in a fire at a major hospital in Pakistan's capital, Islamabad, on Wednesday. The fire broke out at around 6:45 a.m. on the third floor of the Mother and Child Health Ward at the Public Pakistan Institute of Medical Sciences. The fire was apparently caused by the explosion of an air conditioning unit compressor inside the nursery. Police said the deceased was severely burned, making DNA testing necessary to confirm their identity before releasing the bodies to the families.
3 दिन से था कैसे कह सकते हैं कि जल के बच्चे एक बंदा और नहीं चला एक कुछ नहीं चला एक आदमी इनका कहता है कि हम लोग बड़े लोगों को बचा रहे थे क्यों बड़े लोग पाँव से चल नहीं सकते थे तुम लोग उनको बचा रहे थे तुम लोग बच्चे छोड़ के बच्चों को लॉक लगा के कहाँ दफा हुए थे उसके 2 घंटे बाद यहाँ पे रेस्क्यू आई है 4 घंटे बाद पुलिस आई है यहाँ पे चस्के लेने आए हैं एसीडीसी सारे यहाँ पे चस्के लेके अंदर बाहर घूम फिर के चले गए इनमें से किसी एक का बच्चा चला होता मैं देखती कि ये कैसे बैठे हैं
Pakistani Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif expressed sorrow and ordered an investigation.
European countries are among those hardest hit by additional fossil fuel costs caused by disruption in the Middle East, according to the Center for Research on Energy and Clean Air. Italy faced an estimated 12.7 billion euros in extra costs between March and August, followed by the Netherlands at 11.5 billion euros, France at 10.8 billion euros, and Spain at 8.8 billion euros. Together, the four economies absorbed almost 41 billion euros in additional fossil fuel costs without importing any new energy. Globally, the crisis added more than 282 billion euros to fossil fuel import bills, without oil accounting for 140 billion euros. Diesel and petrol prices also rose by 59%. Beyond the cost shock, CREA said Europe's investment in clean energy is helping reduce its exposure. Clean power capacity installed since 2020 saved importing countries 36 billion euros in fossil fuel purchases during the first 5 months of the crisis. Spain alone saved billions, although oil-dependent transport, aviation and industry still left each person facing an additional 181 euros in fossil fuel import costs. Meanwhile, more than 100 organizations urged European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen to announce a plan to phase out fossil fuels in her State of the Union address on September 16th.
Lake Ontario, one of the North American Great Lakes. It borders both the Canadian province of Ontario to the north and the US state of New York to the south. On Tuesday, President Donald Trump suggested he wanted to rename it Lake America, escalating the ongoing feud between the two countries. In a post on his own social media platform, Truth Social, he said, "We don't expect to be doing much business with Ontario any longer." These Americans living near the lake reacted to the proposal.
I think you should take care of things that matter the most to the country and quit being a baby.
He's getting people to look at the name Lake Ontario, but I think he wants to open up the bigger discussion of what's going on with the negotiations. You know, is Canada not taking advantage of us? What's going on?
Over the border, Canadians made their thoughts clear on Mr. Trump's comments.
It's been like that for so long, so why do we need to change it? Seems to work for Canada, and I think probably works for the U.S. too.
It's meaningless. It's just more hyperbole and more of an irritant for the Canadian people. He's not doing anybody any favors, especially himself.
It's the latest escalation in the ongoing trade war between the two countries, with billions of dollars worth of tariffs imposed by both sides. This is not the first time Donald Trump has tried to redraw the map. In May last year, Trump signed an executive order to rename the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America.
In Belgium, the world's top exporter of frozen fries, potatoes harvested this year are smaller than usual, reaching barely the size of ping-pong balls. Farmers' harvests have been hit by a devastating combination of weather extremes, including heavy rain and storms at the end of spring, before an exceptionally hot and dry summer.
Voilà, on voit que la terre est super sèche. Elle sèche sous forme de blocs, tellement c'est sec. Et on arrive à peine à sortir les pommes de terre hors du sol, et on voit qu'elles sont toutes petites pour la date. On arrive au 15 août, et normalement elles devraient faire au moins 4 fois la taille de ce qu'elles font là. À l'heure actuelle, on ne sait pas faire de frites avec ces pommes de terre là.
But the Common family, who grows 500 hectares of potatoes, still has supply contracts to meet. Growers and processors negotiate delivery volumes and prices ahead of the harvest. The Commons will use stocks from last year when the harvest was exceptionally abundant. In Brussels, the owner of La Maison Antoine Fry Kiosk tries to adapt.
Ce qui est le mieux, c'est une longue pomme de terre et surtout une grosse pomme de terre. Ça, c'est ce qui est le mieux. Mais bon, maintenant, comme les saisons varient très très fort en ce moment, eh bien, c'est difficile à trouver la frite parfaite.
With the downfall of supply, fry prices are likely to increase.
Meta has agreed to pay $17 billion and introduce new child safety measures on Facebook and Instagram to settle claims brought by 47 US states over teen social media addiction.
As well as develop news.
The settlement cuts short a landmark trial in California where Meta was accused of deliberately designing features that made children addicted to its platforms and contributed to a youth mental health crisis. Under the deal, Meta will introduce daily time limits and pauses for young users, remove push notifications during weekday school hours, and strengthen age checks and parental controls. Beyond the settlement, the company was also accused of collecting data from children under 13 without parental consent and hiding internal findings about the impact of its platforms. The $17 billion payment is a fraction of Meta's $201 billion revenue in 2025. British actor Tim Curry has passed away at the age of 80. Curry became a global star as Frank and Further in the Rocky Horror Picture Show, the 1975 cult musical that remains a classic of cinema. He was also remembered for playing Pennywise the Clown in the 1990 miniseries It, terrifying a generation of viewers. Beyond film and television, Curry enjoyed a major stage career, earning 3 Tony nominations, including for Amadeus, My Favorite Year, and Spamalot. After suffering a severe stroke in 2012, Curry moved into voice acting, appearing in projects including Star Wars The Clone Wars and Ferngully.
And then